Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello and welcome to round 3 of the Apex Racing League Formula V Championship live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me tonight is both Andy Thompson and David Whitehouse. Sam Kumo is in the production booth bringing you this awesome broadcast. And our host for this round of the championship is an unusual circuit, or at least an unusual layout. It is Hockenheim and National A for rounds 10, 11 and 12 of the season. Andy, so far this has been a really fun championship to broadcast, and I think this Hockenheim circuit should be a good one. It's a little bit of a wider circuit than what we visited at Summit Point, and whilst there are a couple of straightaways, there's still a few corners for these Formula V cars to tackle.
Yeah, definitely. We saw in the first two races, I think the difference between this track and the first two is turn one. So turn one, obviously on Laguna Seca and Summit Point, is quite a tight one, whereas this one is an open right-handed curve, which has got a lot of runoff. So the guys have had plenty of space going on the starting grid to come off this, but they're going to have to watch out certainly for turn two, which is obviously the tight right-hander going in there. So that could be where the pinch point is. But really looking forward to this, like you say, Sam. You know, long straights, wide circuits. I'm hoping to see a lot of good passing here.
And David, it's fantastic to have you in the box with us. These Formula V cars so far, like I said, have produced a great championship, and I think parts of that is the chaos we've seen so far this season, but also the fact that this car is kind of so drivable. We've had lots of different race winners, and well, I think tonight might be the same thing with the reverse grids. Could have 3 different winners again.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me into the box tonight. The Hockenheim circuit will produce some brilliant racing in these cars. As you can see, just at the moment, we don't use the full hairpin, but it's still leaving a brilliant overtaking spot just down into that double apex right-hander. And the cars with the slipstream, it's going to produce great racing, as you say. The first round, Laguna Seca and Summit Point, bit more tight and twisty, less chance of a mistake will cause a pile up. Here you might have one car go off wide, but you're going to have plenty of space to get away with it, so it will produce some great racing and keep the pack nice and tight.
Yeah, and that's what we want to see. We saw some photo finishes last time out at Summit Point, and we could see a similar situation, I think, here tonight, as the drivers are currently in a qualifying session. And for those viewers who are new to the championship, we've got a 10-minute qualifying session with all the cars out on circuit with one another, and then we've got 3 15-minute races, and the races 2 and 3 both have a reverse grid applied. So whilst you do well in race 1, it can very easily go poorly for you in race 2 and race 3. At the moment, Yanka at the top of the standings. And just a word as well on the championship, Andy. It's been such a crazy season that this man, Fischer Pravda, at the top of the standings, and he's an amateur driver. And I mean, I've commentated on a lot of races in Apex Racing League history. I don't believe we've ever had an amateur driver lead the overall championship after the first 2 meetings of a season. It really does show the openness of this series.
Yeah, definitely. It certainly does on that side. As we can see here, the championship standings, James Whittaker. So he's sort of been the grey man. I think he won the race 3 at Laguna Seca, but since then he's been very much just at the back of these standings really, but has managed to get consistent positions. Whereas we've seen Jensen Adrianson and the likes of Jordan Kelly, doing really well. But he seems to have crept under the radar there, and as we can see him in first paper, Jensen's hot on his heels, only 1 point behind James Whittaker, so certainly ought to play for in the pros. And on the AMs, we can see there Pushta Prava, running away a little bit with the AM Championship. And I think, Sam, it is down to the driver's skill, but it's also down to a bit of luck, because we have seen some big incidences in race 2 and 3, which has taken out a lot of the big runners early on in the races, which is why this championship at the moment is so open.
Yeah, no one's really been able to get like a clear meeting. Certainly many of the pro drivers haven't been able to get a completely free evening. And no one's really been able to get a good run on Formont, but with still 6 meetings to go. Still 18 races to go in this season. It could be quite open. Great to see Alessandro Dalladone out on circuit. I believe this is his first appearance of the season. Very accomplished driver is Alessandro, very good with racecraft as well. So expect to see him fairly up there. Jensen Adrianson goes to 3rd position that time, lighting up green on the timing tower. Dalladone not improving. I think that was just an outlap that time round. Of course, part of kind of the qualifying part of this, as Berens has a slight off right there. But yeah, one of the elements of qualifying always, Dave, is to keep it within the white lines. Can't pick up a 1x, and I'm seeing at the moment a lot of drivers seemingly pushing the limits of this Hockenheim circuit.
Yeah, they seem to be running wide left, right and centre at the moment, but I think they'd rather do it now, trying to get a good qualifying lap in, than to do it in the race where they're going to lose positions. I'm always for somebody pushing harder in the qualifying, starting lower in the back and giving us some action coming through the field.
Yeah, that's definitely what we want to see. And I mean, Berens down there in 12th position at the moment, Sibi Sabu down in 18th. You can see they are both pro drivers, indicated by the red stripe. They will certainly be storming through the order in race 1. And yeah, we'll have plenty of that in race 2 and race 3 as well. All the drivers now have to complete their lap time by the time that the 10 minutes is up. So unless you're on a lap right now, you're not going to have time to start a new one and get back around there. And another driver, Sorensen, I might be really being thick right now, but have we seen much of Thomas so far this season, the car number 3, which indicates that it must be a new entry, because we haven't had a chance to set his number yet.
Yeah, that's true. He's a new entry into the league. Obviously, his first meet today. So we've seen him a lot in the past in other events, and he's always been there and very much on the pace. So looking forward to seeing what he can do in the AM Championship. As we see him, he's at the top of the AM at the moment in P1. Might give Pravda a bit of a run for his money, but also Sam, looking at the pit lane starts. So we've got Darrell Adgerson, Gabriel Sabo, Jacob Parisi, J.O. Crow, Jarrett Wilson, Mark Champetier, Mauro Heskey, Simon Ball and Pedro Dominguez. So quite a few start in race 1, and some of the big hitters in there in race 1 going to start in the pits there, Sam.
Yeah, and that's why there's only 18 drivers setting time, so we've actually got a field of 27 signed up. Not sure if 27 will start, but certainly more than 20. But yeah, a quarter, a third of the grid, having to start from the pits due to incidents in the previous rounds. The stewards feeling as though a penalty was due. They would have also got penalty points as well. So quite a harsh one for those guys. Jan-Philipp Jank then on pole position by a tenth of a second over James Whittaker. Whittaker, of course, Pro Drivers Championship leader at the moment, got an opportunity to maybe extend that lead from that position. Jensen Adjinson starts in third position. There's debutant Alessandro Dalladone, Jesse Mietzinen and Alexander Skoret line up on the third row of the grid. Thomas Sorensen on his debut in the series lines up as the top amateur driver. Then it's Daniel Civisabe, Flavio Andalo, Pushistaya Pravda, Mark Charpentier, Brad Lecourt in 12th place, Jakob Behrens, Jay Walsh, Russ Fowler, Jared Colo round out the top 16. Then behind that is Alexander Roggenbuck, Marco Fumero. And it seems as though Aaron Smith will also take the grid. Then the driver starts in from the pits will be Dar Adjinsons, Simon Ball, Myro Hraski, Jarrett Will, Gabor Sabo, Pedro Dominguez, Jacob Money, and Aaron Cohen. So that's kind of the grid that we're expecting at the moment. Just a quick word before we go live, Dave. I mean, I think this is really open to anyone in the top 10, honestly, for this race one. Lots of slipstreaming, I imagine, in this first lap. So Yank gets in pole position, not necessarily, going to give him the race win.
No, not with a slipstreaming around this circuit. It's probably going to be the strongest circuit for slipstreaming already this season. I think pretty much every single corner will be a chance to overtake. Apart from maybe the Sax curve in the middle of the stadium, you'll want to keep it clean through there and get the run down to turn 1.
Yeah, here we go then, race 1 of the evening. We've got 2 more of these to go, but first up, it is Yank from pole position. And he puts his foot down, lots of wheel smoke, and we are away here at Hockenheim Ring. Adjinson straight away up into second place. It wasn't a strong start for Whittaker, and Adjinson's using the draft from the pole sitter to move up into second place. Behind him, Mietzinen also gained a place past Dalladone, and they're already going to fence him, and this is a very wide part of the circuit, so super tricky to defend. There was an opportunity for Whittaker there to make it 3 wide. He decided just to stay behind as Jensen Adjinson swoops around the outside. It wasn't his best qualifying of the season, but he's straight away up into the lead, and Yanker drops down into third position. But now we've got another long straight, another very wide turn in, and it's going to be tricky for Adjinsons to defend into the middle parts of the lap. We cut through the parabolic curve here, and are we going to have a Brit or a Belgian leading the way after the first half lap here at Hockenheim? It looks as though it's the Belgian of Adjinsons, but there is a whole host of cars super close to one another at the front stop.
Definitely, it was a great start there from Adjinson, obviously getting straight onto Jank, and Whittaker followed him through, so really poor start there for Jank, but he's obviously coming back now as we see Dalladone getting into the mix, into P2, but the biggest winner from that is Aaron Smith, up 7 places from where he started, so a poor qualifying for Aaron, but he's managed to get up the order quite quickly, and touch wood, Sam. That's nearly the first lap, and we haven't had.
Adjinson's off, so he took the lead and then he went off. So that is dreadful there for Adjusters. I can't remember if it was him or his brother who went off at turn 1 in race 1 at Summit Point. Squirrett and Sharp and TA have also had a problem there, out on the drag strip right there. And now he's going to rejoin, and there's contact with a couple of drivers and Sharp and TA. Well, he gets back to the pits, he'll be able to take a faster pair, but I think those other couple of casualties will maybe need a tow back to the pits.
You don't rejoin a circuit like that. Yeah, you're asking for trouble, especially on a blind corner like that. It's going to ruin your race and whoever else you catch.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Andy, we know that the stewards will not look kindly on bad regions.
No, definitely not. I mean, obviously, you saw what he was trying to do. He knew he was damaged, and luckily, where he spun, it was right by the pit entry. So he was just trying to get in, but unfortunately, probably wasn't looking at his relatives to see what cars were around him. And obviously, with a damaged car, you're going to be a lot slower than what you are normally. And these cars ain't the quickest off the line from a standing start. And unfortunately, he clipped it. I wasn't sure actually who he clipped, but. Yeah, but as we can see here, James Whittaker's taking the lead at the moment with Dalladoni in second, Meetonen in third. As we see Russ Fowler, big crash coming around the Mercedes curb there, and Russ Fowler going around the back, going back towards cars, but managed to make a safe rejoin. But I think that car's going to be damaged there, Dave.
Yeah, I think both cars will be in the pits and fallen down to about 22nd place now, so a lot of drivers needing an early pit stop, shall we say, just to repair the opening lap of damage. But we're now looking at Behrens, who is sitting in 8th place at the moment, and there's a nice little train of cars here to start moving forward.
Yeah, it's no slipstream effect. So pretty much from this corner, from the last corner all the way around to turn 2, Sam, is going to be pretty much slipstreaming with flat out near enough in these cars. So although there that we see him going around turn 1 here, pretty much at full throttle in these cars. So and it's like an extra long straight really for these cars, which maximises the slipstream. But we're not seeing much passing on this lap at the moment, Sam.
Yeah, maybe just tactically staying behind. You can also see how wide they run through turn 2, and that's because they can get through turn 4 so easily flat. They can just use all the space on the outside, and yeah, they are staying super close in this straight. Should not be underestimated how long it is. Dalladoni, interestingly, if anything, maybe bump charting would occur there. It is risky business in these cars, but it can be done. And having no interest in moving past him, happy just to sit behind the race leader and yeah, wait for the last lap. And maybe pull the trigger right there. Aaron Smith continuing his great run. I mean, that battle that we saw on the previous lap, which unfortunately came to a boil at the Mercedes grandstand, the corner that we just went through. Smith managing to get past a whole host of drivers on that chance, and he's up 14 places from his race start. Didn't set a qualifying lap, did start from the track at least though, and yeah, he's up those 14 places from his start.
Yeah, definitely a great start there, and 14 places from where he started at Green. He's certainly the man on the move going in this. But the fastest lap at the moment goes to Jacob Behrens, who's again up 9 places on the grid, who's obviously currently sitting in 4th place at the moment in the back of this train, or mid-back of this train at the front of the grid. But, you know, real poor luck there for Jensen Agneson, who had a flying first lap but made a slight mistake. And Philip Jank, who's obviously currently sat in 11th place at the moment. So the front 2 of the grid are actually pretty much down the field now, and obviously Jensen just needs to make sure he tries to stay within that 2 laps if he can to score some points on this round.
I would say we really need to start watching how this group battle now, because they may not realise it, but they have some of the quicker drivers in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th place battle, and they're setting lap times which are half a second to a second quicker than the top 2. So this pack will very quickly close up, and we could have a 6, 7, 8 car fight for the lead.
beauty about these cars. So you could have a little gap, but then all of a sudden that gaps get closed up really quickly, as we've seen in sort of previous rounds, Sam, that, you know, although you're out the front, it's not a done deal until the end. And, you know, we've seen a few, certainly as we see Alex Rodenbuck take a little spin. I think that's the Mercedes corner, making a nice safe rejoin, so well on him. Nearly getting caught up a little bit there by Jansen, I think that was Wills that went past him there, but pretty much a safe rejoin there. But these cars are so slow, and if you have a spin, Sam, it's going to really affect your times, because it takes an age to get that car up to full speed, as we saw there with Rodenbuck.
Yeah, it really does set you back, and you drop the toe to the drivers around you, and then it's not easy to, well, it's easy to overtake in this car, but it's not necessarily easy and then to pull away. And then you can be absorbed in a battle, all about the tactical driving, and these guys so far are really responsible about it. Dardani did take the lead momentarily against Whitaker. Now Whitaker, well, okay, tactics out of the windows. It's all out racing for the last 8 minutes, it seems now, because this is getting quite hairy. We've got 2 wide heading into turn 2, and Dardani maybe wanting to get the lead. He's got a very good run here. And Whitaker will just try to defend. This is such an awkward corner. I mean, it's totally just, you know, a stopgap basically, as Dardone goes for the dummy, gets the inside line, and this might be the permanent lead if he can pull this one off. Whitaker drives it in deep, but carries a lot of speed through, and the outside turns into the inside for the Mercedes Arena corner. But Dardone is ahead, and if second, third, fourth, fifth aren't careful, they might fight too much and allow Dardone to get away.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where you're going to see the race win, because if we remember in the last round, Sam, where race 2 and 3, the front running car actually managed to keep the position going over the line and coming through, even though there is a slipstream, albeit by 3,000ths and 6,000ths of a second respectively. But it certainly, I think it pays, certainly around this track as well, to be in the front in this last section.
Completely agree with you there. Somewhere like Summit Point, sideways for a leader there, but somewhere at Summit Point you do have a very long straight to a start finish line, and Laguna Seca similarly so, whereas this, once you get out of this corner, it will be completely flat, and unless you're making a mistake as you come out. Here's an example now. Will they change by the line? Not quite, I don't think so. James Whitaker goes into the lead, but I don't see a last minute pass, shall we say.
I think Dalladoni made a slight error coming out of that corner, which, oh no, Dalladoni and Whitaker take each other out, going a little bit too close, going down there on the straight. They seem to both be going, but massively lost their places now in 6th and 7th place. Not what you want to be seeing so close to the finish, or it's almost put them out of the running for the top spot, which is being taken now by Silva Savo. So, and Saracen on first am on his race is currently in 2nd place, so an outstanding first race for Sorensen.
This is epic from Sorensen at the moment. Silva Savo into the lead. Behrens, who qualified really rubbish, did Behrens. I mean, he'll admit that himself, but he's I think he qualified on pole at Summit Point, but tonight he qualified all the way back in 11th place. I don't know what happened to him, but he is showing his true pace. But yeah, just a word on that Whitaker anyone that was coming from a mile off. They're already super aggressive, only midway through this race 1 of the evening as well, and I'm scared to see how aggressive they are come race 2 and race 3. Now Silva Savo's got a 0.5 of a second advantage, and Behrens really needs to pull off some good corners here just to get back within maybe 3 or 4 tenths, so he can pick up that draft down the pit straight, heading into turn 2, and then heading through Parabolica as well. And he's done a pretty good job of that. He's only 0.53 of a second behind coming out the final corner, so he should pick up a good draft behind the rest of you.
Yeah, sure. It's really close at the top of the grids, which is one of the attributes of these cars, you know, because they're all fixed setups. They're all running the same setup as well, so it's all down to the driver. So the speed of the cars, and as we see on track as we're watching them go around, you know, many of them taking completely different lines around different corners, but you know, pretty much staying nose to tail on each other. And only a slight mistake, as we see Aaron Smith, who had a really good start, making a bit of a spin there going into the turn number 3 on the track. So unfortunately, he's going to be put down the places. So currently only 8th, and the pole position sitter at the moment for the reverse grid is Pushta Prava. So maybe he's actually looking at that and thinking, right, I'm going to get the pole position here if I can keep this place.
Well, it's a good way of looking at it when you're the overall championship leader. He's driven cleanly so far, just tried to stay out of any trouble that's happened, and now he could find himself on front of the grid for race 2.
Yeah, so he's been so good on the first grid races in particular this season, as Pushta, as Sorensen moving up to second place. Guys, you're battling too much, come on. See that, Sivi Sabo is pulling away, and Sivi Sabo now 1.3 seconds ahead. That's out of the draft, and well, it wasn't worth the fight, and maybe Sorensen's inexperience there just harming him, because Behrens is seriously quick, and I mean, honestly, I'd back Behrens to catch up to Sivi Sabo to have the pace, but we've only got 2 more laps to go now. In fact, it's going to be marginal. Very marginal. I think we're going to get 3 more laps, but we'll only cross the line to get that extra one by about 5 seconds. So, yeah, that will be fairly close there. And they're still battling, and you can just see that Hungarian car out in the lead just get further and further away. It's almost a speck in the sky now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the problem is here we've got a battle for 2nd and 3rd as we're looking at Meetingham from his point of view, the battle of 2nd place, and they're holding each other up really, and obviously giving Sivi Sabo the perfect opportunity to get away, and we can sort of see him there. He's already 2.2 seconds ahead, so extending the lead. So these two fighting out in 2nd and 3rd, are letting the 1st place guy get away at the moment.
Contact there between the 2 of them. We've got a slow driver, that's just a back marker. That was Fumero, who was just slowing down for a moment there, and I think it may have held up Sorensen slightly, although, yeah, I think it was the battle between Behrens and Sorensen which just held him up, and it's allowed the Norwegian driver just to make a slight break for it now. And in fact, Sivi Sabo's not far ahead, so Sivi Sabo's made a mistake there. I wonder if it was Sivi Sabo who made contact with Fumero, because that gap has gone from 2.5 seconds to half a second all of a sudden, despite the fairly awful tactics from the drivers behind. This race wins back on.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the case there. It'd be good to see if we can get a replay of what happened, as hopefully we have it here. So we can see Fumero going up there, and we can see Sivi Sabo right behind him. So I think Fumero maybe spin out on this corner and obviously catches Sivi Sabo, I think, or maybe let's have a look. Oh, yes. A bit of an unorthodox at the racing line there, and unfortunately he picks up 1st place Sivi Sabo in his way. Luckily, didn't cause too much damage, so he is still out in 1st place. I don't think there's nothing worse, and I know that feeling of taking out that 1st place driver is not a nice feeling.
It's quite amazing he got away with that one without any serious damage and still in the lead of this race. But I'm just looking further down the field. We have Adriansen, who's 2nd in the championship, only a point behind Whittaker, down in 22nd at the moment and not really making much progress. So it'll be interesting to see whether he will be able to make progress in race 2 and 3 and get the better overall result. But it's not looking good at this stage.
That faster pair on that one. I mean, he was leading, wasn't he, heading into Sachs corner, I think, and then spun off. And yeah, once he took that faster pair, it was always going to be very tricky for him. And man, yeah, it's going to be a tricky race 2. Just got to try to hope that he gets a fortunate reverse for race 3. Side by side for 3rd and 4th. So Daladone and Whittaker, who crashed into one another, are back into this one. I mean, you're absolutely right just a moment ago, though. I don't know how Sivi Sabo survived that crash, and I don't know how Daladone and Whittaker survived either, but they might be able to win this race if they can get a good run on it. But it seems as though Sivi Sabo is going to have the edge on it, because this is the final lap of the event. and Behrens is trying his best to try to get past, but it seems like Siri Sabo for Indy Autosports is surely going to have enough unless there's a mighty run to the line just behind, but it is Daniel Siri Sabo who takes the win, race 1 at Hockenheim, and despite a lot of misfortune there with the back marker, he was able to hold on, he kept his nerve, and he beat a spirited Jakob Behrens just behind. Thomas Sorensen in his debut finishes 3rd place overall, and top of the amateurs, Walsh and Pravda will round out the top 3. Really exciting race 1 there, Andy, and I mean, despite the fact that we did see, you know, the contact for the top position midway through the race, actually I think the racing was fairly good there, and, you know, a little bit of too much batsing I think at the front there, but I think these guys are starting to maybe figure out racing these cars.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first couple of rounds we saw was, you know, a bit of carnage, certainly on the first lap. But that race there was really good, really clean racing. Some bit of wheel rubbing going on there that obviously caused a few incidents. But you know, for having the top 6 drivers within 0.8 of a second coming over the line, it just shows how competitive, how close the racing is on these cars when it gets going, and the power of that slipstream. So and Thomas Sorensen, you know, big mention to him. First time driving this car in the AMS, and gets a 3rd place, a podium. So nice debut for him.
And looking at the overall results, I mean, I know it's a bit early to start looking at championships, but actually that turns out to be a really good result for James Whittaker, because we got Adrianson, who didn't finish very high up, and Leo didn't, and Carpentier didn't.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he took 6th place after having that spin with Adrianson. Obviously, Adrianson came off worse in that excursion with Whittaker, but Whittaker obviously managed to pull it back and obviously get 6th place there. So as we see the grid, so Silver Savile in 1st, Jacob Behrens in 2nd, Thomas Saracen top of the AMS in 3rd, Dardoni 4th, Jason Mitterden in 5th. So, you know, all action, and straight into Heat 2 where we got pushed to Prava, which I think he might have been a bit tactical there, is sat on pole position there, Sam.
Yeah, that is where you want to be, and Pravda so far, just with the 1 podium I believe so far this season, he could definitely get a podium because, you know, Pushstai's quick enough I think to keep with the front guys should he get in a lead pack, and he might be able to make a break for it, but there's a lot of competitive drivers behind him. Darragh Adjinsons, Alexander Skoet, pole sitter, Jan-Philipp Jank, championship leader James Whittaker, and that's just the top 6. So going to be super competitive here. Almost all the drivers are on the grid. Smith not taking the grid at the moment. Dominguez neither. I think Smith might have a pit lane start to serve actually. And then also Money and Cohen not taking the grid, it seems. They are right at the back. So already they are steaming up the circuit. Race 2 of the evening is underway. Pravda from the pole position, it's an awesome start for him, and once again 3rd place on the grid gets a great start. Darragh Adjinson's trying to slipstream the pole sitter at the moment, heading into turn 1, and now he should be able to make a move for it into 2. Pravda not defending whatsoever, and Adjinson should be easily up into the lead heading into turn 2 on this first tour of the circuit. Behind that, Skoet with a strong start. Yank just dropping behind Whittaker in a competitive battle for 4th and 5th, but Adjinson's are well clear, and Pravda just leaving plenty of space for these pro drivers as they make their way past him.
Yeah, definitely a great start there from Adrianson, getting in a slipstream of Pravda, you know, straight away, and managing to take him before turn 2, but that was a classic slipstream effect coming down off that start grid. So a really great start for Adrianson. He's starting to get a bit of a lead, but Skoet's on his tail. Whittaker's obviously managed to get back Prada, and Prada's now falling down the field in 4th place, where we've got Jank, Meaton and Behrens, so 3 very fast drivers behind him. But as we've spoken to him before, Sam, he knows how to play this game. He knows who he's fighting against and who he's not fighting against, and he's really good. As we see a big incident there. Oh, car just unfortunately going into someone else around the corner. I think that was Alex Roddenbuck that got taken out, unfortunately, there by Colo, it might be. Yeah, Colo. So unfortunately there, round Mercedes-Benz, a big incident causing about 4 cars. So we've got 3 cars currently in the pits, Lecour, Ambelo and Colo.
And at the moment on this first lap, you were seeing the perfect drive by Pravda. He's sitting there, he's obviously had to start from pole, realises he's not as quick as some of the drivers around him, and he's just trying not to lose time. You'll see like midfield Formula 1 teams do this. The quicker car comes up behind him, let him go, and just get the best result possible for yourself. And it's going a clean lap and up into 5th place.
He's a very astute, isn't he, Sam? On there, we've had him in the interview room, and he says he knows where to pick his battles and he knows where to fight and not to fight.
Yeah, Dunn is, I do think, doing plenty of commentary, as British Star has done, does help with that one. You start to see kind of the tactics that work and the tactics that don't, and Pravda knows which ones to adopt, and that's what he's doing at the moment. So Aaron Smith in there in 9th position, so he's up 3 places. I do think Smith did eventually take the grid, but he's right on the inside of the track here. It's 3 wide. Does everyone know where each other are? Just about. And Smith for the 2nd time tonight, as we've got big contact just behind. That's Haraski and Ball, I think, who both started from the pits actually in race 1, managed to make their way through the order, just missed out on the reverse grid for race 2, but that was contact between the two of them there. Scorette trying to go on the attack on Adrianson, and once again, all about tactics, because these are 2 of the fastest drivers, definitely 2 championship contenders here. And there's no point in fighting one another, just need to stay behind, pull away, because they've got Yank and Whittaker behind. This is a super competitive top 4 right now that we've got on track, despite the fact that we had a reverse grid.
And just to keep you updated, it was Dominguez who started from the pit lane, and we've had Corlo, Lacour and Andaleo again into the pits early on in the race, and that has ruined all 3 of their races. I think they're all back out now, but it's not exactly good points if you've been near the bottom of the table twice so far tonight.
As long as you're within 2 laps of the leader, you will score. If you're anything more than 2 laps, then you don't score. So there's still, even though they're down in the lower places, there's still points to fight for. So, you know, you just do your utmost to try as well. We see Dalladone actually went into the pits as well, so he's got taken out. But like you say, Sam, you got the top 2 within, you know, 100th of a second between each other, Scorette and Adrianson, fighting out at the front. And like you say, Sam, they need to be working together to make sure they can maintain that gap, which has come down already to 0.8 of a second that was 1.4. So with them fighting up in the front, as we see Scorette take the lead, they're bringing into play Jank and Whittaker, and like you said, Sam, they are very fast drivers. So I'm expecting to see sort of the top 6, top 7, sort of getting back into a big long train very shortly.
Yeah, and maybe, yeah, so certainly top 6, I think, could be in a train. Maybe Smith could jump onto the back of it as well. Pravda continues to drop down. He's now got his amateur rival Sorensen just behind. Sorensen trying to close up that gap. Look at Smith, they're going up the inside into Sachs' corner. Oh, that was maybe a bit aggressive there against Behrens of all people as well, who was very quick himself. I'm sure Jakob will be infuriated by that one, but needs to think tactically here. Okay, no, go for the overtake in the next corner. They make contact, and now Behrens has got damage. So that was not the best few corners there. Smith going for the first aggressive move, and well, I'm sure Smith would call that move from Behrens aggressive himself.
Yeah, definitely.
You're absolutely right. It was just, I wouldn't say it was a revengeful tactic, but Mitian in front had just set the fastest lap of the race, and Smith probably just saw him getting away and just thought, I've got to go for this and I've got to hook onto the back of him. But the fastest lap has now gone to Yanka in 3rd, so Sibi Sabo just about misses that, but Smith had actually moved up 6 places, which from his pit lane start originally and his spin in race 1, he was one to watch, and now with the damage, I guess he'll be in the pits this lap, I guess.
Yeah, as we see here, a great battle in front of us for the AMs. You got Pravda in 6, Sorensen in 7th, and Walsh in 8th. So 6, 7, and 8 for the top 3 AMs in drivers. We're getting a bird's eye view here, a ringside seat of the battle for 2nd and 3rd in the AM with Pravda. You know, they're probably going to come back to him as Sorensen takes Whittaker and basically goes on the hunt for Pravda. So he's had an outstanding first meeting, Sam, here as Sorensen, as we come to expect anyway, as we know he's a very fast driver in other series.
Yes, yeah, definitely. As so we're trying to get past Sorensen right there, couldn't quite make it. And now, yeah, wonder who will pull out ahead. Charpentier also in this one, and after his dreadful race one, I could see him back up there, 10 places gained for Mark from his starting place. And these guys continue to fight, and now we get onto almost this, it's almost two different circuits this. You've got the stadium section, it's all about just the corners, and then you got this part of the lap where, well, it's a bit like Monza in these cars, where it's just gaining lots of time in the drive. Probably could gain about half a second to nothing from the exit of the final corner all the way to this turn T. And we are seeing that in practice right now. Bull with an ambitious move, but he spins around, and yeah, Bull gets back on his way, but a bit too much curb there. And yeah, these cars do not like curb, as it's 3 wide for the race leader at the moment. Skurek going around the long way in that Jaguar-esque green right there, but Derek Adrianson's holding on at the moment, and Yanko right with these drivers now.
Yeah, a complete five car battle here at the front, 3 car wide in there, classic racing. So I think these guys will be going all the way to the end. And I think the only thing that's going to separate them is slight touches, unfortunately, Sam, between the races, because they're all super competitive, super fast, as we see them going all across the line, trying to break the slipstream, trying to get the slipstream and get it into some sort of order, coming down into Sachs curve with Adrianson first, Whitaker in second, and Jank in third. But I'm pretty sure that these places will be shuffling like a pack of cards.
Just looking back at Sibi Sabo, winner of race 1, and he's struggling down in 9th. He's just been passed by Charpentier, and he didn't catch up with Sorensen or Pravada, so a difficult race for him. I understand how hard it must be when you're stuck around sort of a load of amateur drivers. You don't want to try and get involved in their fight, but you need to get ahead and get them positions for your own championship.
Absolutely, and yeah, so we're not quite not quite slicing through the order as much as, you know, some of his rivals who have been able to make up a lot of positions. There's now Whitaker at the front, and this is absolutely awesome battling. It does seem as though going on to the final lap, you want to be in the lead going into the stadium section, but you maybe want to be behind just before the stadium section, so you can get that chance, as there's contact now, and that is a couple of big names out of the running. Darrell Atkinson, who's led most of this race with contact, and he can't even get any drive now on those rear wheels. He's going to have to get a tow back to the pits. That's a huge shame, and I believe that was Yank with the contact, and now we've got more contact, and this is a couple of heavy hitters in the amateur category, and it has Adrianson, so this is the other Adriansons. Apologies, no, the other Adriansons managed to get through it, apologies. But no, a separate incident here, which has taken out, yeah, a couple of the big hitters in the amateur category.
Yeah, it's coming down into the double right as we see Russ Fowler unfortunately getting taken out, maybe a little bit slow, but like we said before in these cars, once you're in that slipstream, you need to understand where the braking zone is, because these cars are so slipstream heavy when they get into that slipstream. Is that you need to, oh, it's a very, obviously must have had damage on his cars. Unfortunately, Russ will be going back to the pit, so that's pretty much as well. So that's mixed up the reverse grid place. So the current reverse grid place at the moment is Alex Rodenbuck in 16th place, 16th place race 3 reverse grid. So, you know, all change where Alex probably thought he was well out of it, and now he's currently sat on pole position for race number 3. So, yeah, it's some big hitters going out there, Sam.
Yes, correct. Retakes the lead now past Whitaker, but well, the 113 and 116, nothing's splitting them. And Mietonen is now right in this pack, and Mietonen's been quite under the radar so far. It does drop down to 4th position now, but maybe he's the most passive of any of these guys, and he's just waiting for it to kick off.
He's your typical Finn, isn't he? Cool, calm, and collective. As somebody said, what was it? Raikkonen was his cousin, somebody said in the YouTube chat once.
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I think that is as true as yeah, me being able to fly on a Tia. That is utter a word that I can't say is true.
Yeah, probably is, but you know, just sticking at the back of this group, letting these three guys in front fight it out. As we've seen, he's already gained some places because Jank and Adrianson unfortunately had a bit of a tangle. So Jank he's managed to keep his car going, so he profited a little bit out of that incident with Adrianson, and Adrianson came off worse going into the gravel pit and unfortunately not being able to get out of there. But it doesn't look like there's much damage on Jank's car there, as he's currently sat in third place and right under the tail of Whitaker in second place. So certainly going to be an entertaining last 2-3 laps here, Sam and Dave.
Well, there's certainly some good news for Behrens in the end. He's up 17th, but he's 35 seconds off the reverse grid pole. So unless something happens to somebody else, I can't really see it happening, as we see Aaron Smith moving back through after that contact he had earlier in the race. He's back up to 7th place and heading forward towards Sorensen, but he's in a group where he's in an amateur sandwich at the moment, and will be looking to get past Sorensen and maybe chase after Charpentier.
We see as well, Sam, Sorensen's actually got past Pravda now, so he is currently again race 2 winner at the moment for the AM categories. So a great opening round for himself, and it would have been interesting to see where Pravda would have been in the first 2 if Thomas had joined at the start. So I think Pravda now, which was running away with the AM championship, has got some competition.
Yeah, and the drivers do get a drop score, of course, in this championship. So you'll have you'll use that, or he'll take advantage of that. Sorry. For one of those 2 meetings that he missed, but yeah, it could be interesting from here on in. Quick shout out, by the way, to Apex Racing Academy, who are one of the sponsors for this championship, and also offering a range of prizes, 1 month to 1 year subscriptions for the top teams and drivers in this series. Apex Racing Academy offering setups, track guides, and group coaching sessions, along with coaching as well from some of the best drivers in iRacing. Go to apexracingac.com. You can get signed up. We all use it here at Apex Racing TV. It's super easy to use with the setup sync technology that Apex Racing Academy have. And yeah, I'm sure many of these drivers out here use it. This is a fixed setup, so you can just use it for this championship. But really, pretty much every other category of racing on the road side things, along with Rallycross as well, covered by Apex Racing Academy. We are on the last lap of the race. It's Scarrett leading the way. I'm not sure if that's where you want to be. I think, if anything, Yank is looking very strong here, 3rd in line.
Yeah, definitely is going to be right up to the line here. Meaton, and just staying off the back of them, doesn't want to get really involved. So I think it's down to Scarrett, Whitaker and Jank for this. So as we see Whitaker trying to take that inside line, as we said, Sam, you know, you want to be going into first place into the stadium section, because you can try and herd the field as you want. As we see Whitaker take the first place, but Scarrett get a really good run on the outside, trying to go up the inside. So Whitaker trying to close the door on him and managing to keep that and getting a little tiny gap. And now obviously Scarrett's got Janka all over him, and Meetonen, obviously quite Meetonen's now just slowly got up himself into 3rd place in front of Jank. So all changing on this last lap, coming into the very tight stadium section. So it's going to be very hard to pass over here. I think the only next, as we see a big incident there with Meetonen and Scarrett to 3rd and 4th place taking each other out, and I think that's going to be Scarrett out the race there. I do not think he's going to be able to get back to the start finish line, so we'll see where he has. I think it's going to be a struggle for him, and he's probably screaming in his car at the moment. What do you think, Dave?
It looks like he might just about make it, but it's James Whitaker is coming round final corner, and he's going to take victory. The championship leader coming into this round takes the race victory ahead of Yank, and it's Charpentier jumping up into 3rd place, up 16 positions from his grid position, with the amateur Thomas Sorensen coming across the line in 4th to win the class.
Yeah, that's... Sorry for interrupting, Andy. I was just saying it was quite a surprise that Charpentier managed to get himself up to that 3rd position, and the drivers behind Meetonen finishing in 13th position. Yeah, shame for him right now. And Pravda doing very well up there in 7th place out of the amateurs. Jakob Behrens has had a tricky race as well, with the Iron few drivers just crossing the line now. I'll also give a shout out to SDK Gaming, also seeing these guys cross the line. SDK Gaming offering or delivering our overlay that we show up on screen. You might be wondering how on earth we have such an overlay up. It's not available without any third-party application, but we get it via SDK Gaming, which also provides our live timing as well. It's fantastic as a heads-up display. It's amazing for streaming. It really does just deliver all the data you could possibly want. Presented very well. So do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk in order to get yourself a 14-day free trial if you want to have this software enabled for your computer. Yeah, just the final couple of judges to cross the line now. 16 car reverse grids, I believe, Andy, that will be Behrens on pole position for race 3. He is going to be tricky to beat.
Yeah, definitely. I think he'll be the man in the pole position seat throughout the whole of that race. Real quick driver. We saw his pace in race 1 and unfortunately had a few incidents in race 2 which has got him down there, but luckily he made his way up to P16 and getting that reverse grid pro, so a hot favourite I think for race 3.
I would also put in a mention for Pedro Dominguez. He actually started from pit lane, so the timing screen only shows that he moved up 2 positions from his grid position. But he started from pit lane, has worked his way up to 12th, which will be 5th on the reverse grid.
Yeah, good spot there with Pedro getting all those places. Really good work from the 212, driving for Double Yellow Racing Team. So yeah, good job from him there. As I think we can bring you through your final results. There they are. Whitaker on top, extending that championship lead. Janka in 2nd place, despite quite a big contact actually did Janka. He was these cars for this round of the championship seem to be built a lot better than in previous rounds. Mark Charpentier up there in 3rd place in the end. Sorensen scoring great points in the amateur championship in 4th. Scoret, Civi Sabo, Pravda, Ball, Will and Sabo running out the top 10. And yeah, the rest of the order goes through for you. Meetsinen down there in 12th place, Smith down to 14th, Behrens on reverse grid pole, and Jensen Adrianson's just missing out on that reverse grid in the end. A disappointing round of the championship for him after that poor race 2 result. We are going to be back in just a moment on Apex Racing TV, but first we are going to show you a trailer for one of the sponsors for the series, but we'll be back with you in just a moment in the Apex Racing League Formula V Championship.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello and welcome back to Apex Racing TV for round 3 of the Formula V Championships. So we've seen 2 different winners from race 1, Sivi Saville, and race 2, James Whittaker, with Thomas Sorensen getting both AM wins in race 1 and 2. So we're going into our final race of the evening, round 3, and you know, Sam and Dave, it's going to be a tight one, and it's hard to look past Jaco Behrens, who's going to be sat on pole position for this third race for the race win.
Yeah, it's not been a great evening so far for Behrens. I mean, he's one of the fastest drivers in the series, but a poor qualifying. Then race 1, he did fairly well to get himself near the front, but then yeah, race 2 only getting that 16th position. He's got some points to make up, does Behrens, but I think going to be really important. If he can break that draft in the early stages, he'll be very tricky to beat.
Yeah, definitely. Dave, I'm led to believe a little birdie tells me that you've actually driven these cars in real life. Have you driven these cars on iRacing, and what's the similarities you found between the two?
I have driven them, not on a full-size circuit, on an airfield as a sort of prize tester one for once, but the cars are quite similar. A lot more nervous at rear end on the iRacing game compared to in real life, because in real life they're just that little bit heavier than you would expect, because the parts are a lot more sort of rigid because they're coming from cars and they're not built literally as race car parts. There's a lot of them come from VW, so I would say they're a lot more tricky in iRacing than they are actually out on the track to drive.
Yeah, definitely. So very, very similar cars as it. We see the grids here for race 3 with Behrens set on pole position, Firmo in second to the top of the AMs, Aaron Smith in third, Roddenbuck in fourth, as we just about to get the red lights underway, and we are racing for round 3 as Behrens gets a really good start off pole position. Aaron Smith following him tightly behind him, meeting them. So, you know, Firmo getting a real terrible start there, going from second place on the grid all the way down to 7th at the moment. So getting swallowed up a bit by the field. Dominguez top of the AMs, Roddenbuck in 5th, as we see a big Marco Furro, terrible start from him, second on the grid, and unfortunately getting taken off Simon Ball with an incident Simon Ball. So we see Behrens, Smith, Meetingham and Dominguez. So we see the fast pro drivers at the moment at the top of the field. So interesting start there, and unfortunately for Firmo, he got pretty much engulfed by all the pros there, and I think unfortunately made mistakes there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much experience he has running off the front of the grid, as we see Smith trying to get the lead up there off Behrens. But yeah, for me, maybe just a lack of experience and trying to stay out of everybody's way instead of just concentrating on his own race.
Yeah, super tight to the inside heading into turn 1 and understeered, as we've got another off here and more drivers piling in. And that is seemingly Will, Scarrett and Dominguez, who we were complimenting. Actually had a fairly good starting place, 5th place for this race 3. And Charpentier was also involved in a separate incident, and Whittaker as well. So Whittaker had one of the best evenings of anyone up to this point. Unfortunately, I believe he's probably picked up contact there, the man in 17th place. Charpentier may have to return to the pits as well as oh dear, and Whittaker there trying to go for an overtake, and wow, we've got a lot of chaos in this race. Fowler off against Sivi Sabo, race 1 winner off the track with 2 wheels missing off the back as well. Well, at least when you have that many toes back to the pits, they can have a bit of a race against one another once they get their fast repair done and exit out the pits. But man, that was proper chaos around the second half of the lap.
Yeah, definitely 7 people in the pits at the moment from this. More than both of the 2 races back there, as we see there. Just a bit tight racing. Unfortunately, he was on the racing line. I don't think the cars behind him had much of a place to go. It did as Civisava was across the track there. So a bit of an unfortunate one, and obviously picking up some poor bystanders in the spin out that he had there. But as we see at the front here, Aaron Smith taking the lead over Behrens with Meentelen, who's he's just that driver, just stays at the back, keeps himself out of trouble, Sam, and manages to pick up some decent points. So this round for him has actually been quite good.
Yeah. Well, he kind of dropped back in the end in race 2 when he did start to get his elbows out as Behrens retakes the lead. But yeah, he could definitely win this race 3. From here, Sorensen as well is up 9 places. Jensen, Adriansen and Haraski up 13 places each. Great to see Haraski up there after a dreadful first couple of races. Now, I think the Serbian driver is a little bit too far back to catch up from there. Apologies, I'm not sure if it is Serbia. I don't want to get flags on, but certainly, or it might be Slovenia. But anyway, he's in 6th place, probably a bit too far back to catch up to the others. But the top 5, I think Jensen Adriansen might see a race win possible here if those guys ahead start to put.
Probably go with Slovakia on that one myself, but who knows? We might all be wrong.
I think I was wrong on both counts there.
I'm not going to put my neck out. I'll let you two put your necks out.
Sorry, my headset just went flying off my head then.
But yeah, it's a bit of a gap has opened out between 3rd and 4th on the track going in there. So, but Sorensen again, having a really consistent round, mixing up rather heavily with these pros, and having a great round for him. So it'd be good if he could get onto the podium again. But these 3 at the front, as we see, got a bit of a gap over Sorensen in 4th, with Adriansen just behind him in 5th, and then a bit of a gap back to 6th, 7th and 8th in the fight there. So 3 little pods are formed up, and I'm pretty sure that these pods will all get back together again pretty soon with the battling that we are seeing, because they're all compromising each other's lines. So Adriansen just needs to work with Sorensen just to get onto the back of this front grid.
I was literally just about to mention that it's surprising that Adriansen didn't try and pass Sorensen that little bit quicker, and I think that's a compliment to Sorensen in how well he's done. He's not a driver which I know is, up the front of his Formula V field on his debut, but it's really given him the confidence to run with Adriansen, as we see Smith and Behrens side by side up towards the Sachs curve again, and Meitian just sitting there with his watching brief. I don't know whether he's maybe eating popcorn back there or what, but he's just keeping a watching brief on these 2 and praying they take each other off.
Past history says that cars going side by side into tight corners normally do have a little bit of contact together, and unfortunately one of them will come off worse. But at the moment, keeping the racing really clean between Smith and Behrens, so it's really good to watch them battling it out, going backwards and forwards. And now, as we see, 4th and 5th are now back onto the group, like we were saying. These front 3 were battling it out with each other, and it's let 4th and 5th catch up with them now. So now we have a 5-car race for the P1 in this race.
They actually lost 1.5 seconds on that last lap, so that shows you how much the battling does make the difference. And just, as I say, I haven't been here for the whole. I've seen races, but I've not been sort of in the commentary box, Sam. So who would you pick out of these 5 right now? Who would you pick to come out on top?
It's tricky because they've all had problems throughout this season. I mean, the top 3 in particular, super fast drivers, but have had their problems. I'd maybe give maybe Behrens the edge, perhaps, but it's really tricky to call. And interestingly, Janka is catching these guys by 2 seconds a lap. So Janka in 6th place, who's 4 seconds behind these guys. Oh, big contact there, and that is Behrens and Smith, and that was a commentator's curse because Behrens is skidding on his helmet right there. Gosh, well that's the roll by, I guess, doing some kind of job, but that is a shame for him, and I apologise profusely right there. Well, I won't pick who's my race winner is going to be next time, but here was the contact then. Smith on the outside, And I don't know, is this a tricky thing, you know, when you've got an easy flat corner like that, very wide circuit, very small cars, the outside driver can go wherever they want. They don't need to use all the space. And yeah, the inside driver felt like they were going to use a lot more space than they did. So contact between the two, huge crash into the wall. And now they're just doing. That's bad news for Yanka actually, because that means that these top three might not be fighting as much as they were previously. So Yanka was on course to catch up to these guys, but it might be a bit more tricky for him to do so now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, I think that was coming. Those two guys that went off bearings and Aaron were fighting and going side by side quite a lot on the previous couple of laps. So I think it was only a matter of time before they did have slight touch. And unfortunately, the touch was bad enough to take Behrens out of the race, and had a terrible round again for him after being so strong. And you can see his pace on the track. So really unfortunate for him. But what we have got now is a really good race at the front, and we've got an AM in the mix for the race winner. And Thomas Sorensen currently in second place and seems to be keeping up pace with both Adrianson and Meaton and behind him. So certainly not one for pace. And Zhang, you can see him in front of him. He just needs to try and keep doing what he's doing, and hope the three in front of him keep battling as back markers are now coming into the fray. So hopefully they get out of the way to be able to get the front runners through.
Looking actually at the gains at the moment, Jens Adrianson up 17 places in this race, and yes, we've seen a little bit of chaos, but he's managed to divert his way through from 18th on the grid, so he really does deserve to be leading this race at the moment. And he's currently pulling away slightly. He's 4/10 quicker on the last lap than the group behind him, and only just slower than Yanka. So if anybody can hold off Yanka at this time, it's Adrianson.
Yeah, very quick driver and pass, doesn't he?
Yeah, and yeah, Jensen's you won the GT. I'm trying to think which championship. He certainly won the amateur championship. I think it was the GT Season 4 title. Did Jensen Adrianson, which was a very closely fought championship as well. Jensen's managed to come out on top of it, so yeah, he's a quality driver. Just saw Behrens as well pass Lacour, I believe, after Behrens had to take that tow back to the pits and a fast pair after that big crash on the section of track before the stadium. Adrianson's had to hold on. Now Sorensen so far tonight has been very aggressive. He hasn't been one necessarily for the tactics. I think he's got quite a lot of faith in his own pace. Feels like he should be out in the lead, pulling the others away, kind of leading the train. And so we're kind of seeing that already. And we've got 3 more laps to go after this one, I believe. And yeah, they do need to be careful once again. Yank now 2.8 seconds behind. He's just in the background there, catching up by only a couple of tenths of a second on that last lap on these top 3 drivers. So yeah, they do need to keep an eye on. But here comes Sorensen again into Sachs corner, and he is taking really no prisoners. If there's an opportunity to overtake, Sorensen is going to go for it.
Showing a little respect for the Pro and Am split here, obviously all over the back of Jensen Adrianson, and giving him something to worry about. Certainly, you know, popping his nose out into corners, trying to fit himself through little tiny spaces. So, you know, Jensen probably thought that he might have it all his own way, having an Am behind him, but it's certainly not paying that way at the moment.
Back in 7th place, James Whittaker has worked his way back up, but he had damage on the opening lap. He's up to 7th now. Will that be enough for the overall win on the event? It will be close between him and Sorensen, I think.
Yeah, I think Sorensen might just take it because he seemed to be a little bit more consistent there as he's at the front. And certainly if he gets 2nd place or even the race win in this race, but I wouldn't put it past him because he seems to have the place, Sam. But like you said, he's got no fear, and is that going to be his downfall? Only time will tell.
He's due some bad luck. Uh-oh. Oh, that was, well, okay, more luck there, because that could have been a lot worse. He just in deep as well for the second part of the corner on the power really early. Well, maybe that was Jensen's a bit slow on the power, because he made up about a car's length there did Thomas, and he's forcing his rival all over the place, and Yanka is catching up by a second a lap. 1.2 seconds he's caught in the past lap, and he's that much closer with 2 more laps to go here at Hockenheim. What a fantastic host for the championship this has been so far, and we're nearly at an end for it here in the sun-setting conditions, and still Jensen Adriansen's leading the way. Sorensen just dropping off slightly. Is that a slowdown or something? But he's lost a couple of cars lengths very quickly there.
I think he just took a poor line into the sacks and overcooked it a bit and lost a lot of speed. But I think Jan can obviously smell the top three now. Obviously, right in getting into the slipstream area, but he's got very little time to get it done, and he needs these guys to be fighting out a bit more. And with that slight little gap now between Adriansen and Sorensen, although it's not a lot, it just gives enough Jensen to obviously take his normal lines, which will make him a lot faster. So Jank's obviously trying all he can and obviously pulling along. Pravda with him. Is that Pravda? No, it's not. It's Huraski behind him to pull him along. So, you know, I think that maybe, there will be one more lap after this. So it could be a five-way battle going into this last lap if Yank can get on the back of these three. Oh!
Well, that's one of the first spins he's had all season. He's all right, but yeah, down to 10th.
See what happened here. Coming down off the first corner, coming down into the second corner. Did he take it a bit tight? Oh, unfortunately, just lost it going in the corner. It must be going a little bit too fast around turn 2. What he needs to do.
So Adriansen has dropped down the order with this contact somewhere. Here it was, and then Mietonen had nowhere to go, and that has really made this race very open because Janka is now in the lead. It's Janka and Huraski have caught up Sorensen in the middle of them with 1 lap to go. So Janka caught up enough. He was in range for when that incident happened, and just running a little bit wide there, Janka might allow Sorensen back in. But yeah, that's a huge shame, and a huge shame as well for Jensen Adriansen, who's had no luck so far this season. Usually in the top 5 fastest drivers on circuit, but another incident right there.
Yeah, I think both of the brothers have had terrible. We saw Dara exactly the same corner just before on that hairpin get taken out, and we saw his brother there get taken out during this race. So the brothers have certainly not had the luck this round going into this. As we see Jank, you know, rubbing his fingers together, thinking, "Am I going to get on the back of these three?" A little incident, and all of a sudden he's from 4th all the way up to 1st, and going into probably going into the last lap. Now in 1st place, but Sorensen again, you know, he's really an aggressive driver all over the back of Jank, and Jank's got something to look at from not getting this race win, you know, having this ammo all over the back of him, and he would have seen the lines he was taking following behind, so he will know that he's a kind of an aggressive driver. So it'll be interesting to see what we have happen here in this last lap.
He manages not to run into back of Janka like he did with Adriansen, but I think drivers will ask Sam to stop being positive about him after this race, because every time you say something positive, something happens to him. But James Whittaker is now up into 4th. That will pretty much guarantee him the overall win, I think. Carpentier up to 5th, and Jarrett Will up to 6th. I don't think he's been mentioned all night, but the German at his home race up to 6th place and 2nd in amateur.
Great work there from Will to gain his business. Has a mistake from Sorensen right at the end, and he will drop down to 3rd place, and it leaves the door wide open for the man who took pole position earlier on. I think did Janka. Oh, apologies, maybe no, or maybe messed up qualifying. Anyway, whatever it was, he started this last race in 15th place. It didn't stop him from taking the race win though. Race 3 goes to Jan-Philipp Janka, and that is a very satisfying win for him. He spent almost all the race outside the top 4, but that incident just ahead on the penultimate lap allowed him to gain places. Sorensen with the mistake finishing in 3rd place overall, but still one of the highest point scorers across the evening. Huraski with an under the radar 2nd place, but good job there from Huraski for Fork's speed. And we've still got, well, you can see this is the battle for 13th and 14th against 2 very competitive drivers in the form of Behrens and Mietonen, and well, they are a long way off the pack. In fact, both these drivers have had to take faster repairs, had to come into the pits in order to fix their repairs, and Behrens is doing absolutely everything to hold on to the position.
Yeah, Even this low down in the field, you see the closeness of these races. And these two races, as we know, are quite fast. Unfortunate incidents have scuppered their races, but fighting it out all to the way just for bragging rights. And I think Behrens is obviously going to take 13th with Meaton in 14th. But what was interesting, Sam, and I don't know if you did spot it, so on the first lap coming around turn 2, I think it was Russ Fowler that spun off around this corner. We saw it on the replay, and then we saw Jank do some rather rally skills to actually avoid the car. Literally, I think he tapped the front end of Russell's car and basically managed to keep his car going. So he could have been taken out quite easily in that first lap, but if it wasn't for some awesome driving, off-road driving skills to get around an incident, and obviously went on to win the race. So an outstanding race for him. So you probably see that if you watch it on the replay on the first lap after turn 2.
Yeah, great work for him to avoid that. It really was the complete performance, and Yank ends up taking the race win then ahead of Praski. Sorensen top of the AMS once again. Whittaker highest point scorer across the evening. Mark Charpentier then 5th place. As Dave was saying, Jet Will doing really well in 2nd place in the amateurs and 6th place overall, ahead of Flavio Andolo. Good to see Andolo actually up there because he had a pretty rubbish first couple of races, but yeah, did well there in 7th. Pushistaya Prata keeps the lead in the amateur championship. I imagine he'll lose the lead in the overall championship tonight. Then it was Alexander Roggenbuck, Aaron Smith, Sabo, Walsh, Behrens, Meaton and Ball, and Siri Sabo was the top 16, Leclerc and Fowler in 17th and 18th. Behind that was Pedro Dominguez, Alexander Scuret, Jensen Adjensons after leading for so long, Marco Fumere and Jared Collo. Those guys all within 3 laps of the race lead, so they will score points. The retirees were Darrell Adjensons, Alessandro Daldone, Jacob Money and Aaron Cohen. In fact, I think at least the bottom 3 there did not take the start in the end, but yeah, lots of drivers having to take faster pairs in that final race. Final shout out to our last sponsor in this series and on Apex Racing TV, Virtual Racing School. And if you want to improve your on-track performance, you can get over 50 data packs for both road and oval racing, and each of those data packs is for a different car. And the setups, track guides, and one-on-one coaching follows the official series for each of those cars. So say you take up the GTE cars, for example, that will follow probably the IMSA sports car series. So you've got the right setups, you've got the right track guides for the tracks that you need. So huge thanks to Virtual Racing School, and yeah, if you want to improve your driving in pretty much any car on iRacing, I mean road cars, dirt cars, even oval cars such as kind of stock cars and that, Virtual Racing School is a fantastic resource to do that. So huge thanks to them for helping us out on Apex Racing TV. Now, we should have some interviews with drivers now, and yeah, we've got a few to choose from already. I'm first going to have a chat with Austin Knight because I'm trying to figure out how Alexander and Jakob's races went, but I can pretty much recall how your night went, Austin. It was kind of more the same, just consistent finishing. You had one spin, but once again, you've done it. 3 top 11 finishes tonight and a great points haul.
Yeah, thanks. I hate this place. I don't know who picked the schedule, but you know, they should be brought into a dark corner and beaten. #BlameSam. Yeah, I do not like everyone here when they race here. Crazy aggressive, and when I started up on pole, I did not want to be there. Like, it was scary up there. Everyone's just sending it up the inside, and I'm just trying to avoid it. Race 3, people are trying to take it easy into turn 1, and then they just completely overjudge, like, take the corner without trying to turn into it or something, and that was scary. Race 2, that was scary. I just said everyone's on my inside, and I'm just like, I don't want any fight of this. I'm just fighting the AMs, and there's apparently more AMs in here now that aren't labeled right, and they have the pace of pros. That was freaking me out and everything, but yeah, it was a tough race today, and next week at Lime Rock, I'm not looking forward to that one at all.
Well, I was gonna say, what a great circuit this was for this round of championship, because you got the wide corners, haven't you? You got some width for these cars. You got plenty of corners. It's quite a technical circuit, but of course it's not overdoing it. So why weren't you a fan of this place?
The parabolica, like you could take this corner. You only touch the brake pedal about 3 times, and they aren't brake. They're just like little taps of the brakes here and there. Turn 2 and the hairpin are like the biggest braking points at all. Then it's just follow, drive, follow, lift, follow. I could go on forever. Yeah, it's just a lot of following, a lot of just flat out running, and guys, when they're flat out, they just get into the moment. They'll squeeze you at times. They'll extend you at times. People just get too aggressive at, and it really freaks out. I'm watching the replay live, and this is the start of race 3 where everyone's spinning out in front of me. I'm just on the inside, and I just get onto the brakes because I just see everything happening, and then people behind me just continue just going crazy because they see smoke and chaos. Formula 1 tracks attract crazy driving because it's a Formula 1 track.
So by that logic, Lime Rock should be an absolute breeze. I mean, that circuit is going to be pretty crazy because, I mean, you're saying how few braking zones there are around this place. Lime Rock, you got kind of the second parts of turn 1, and then you got, I guess, the chicane, and then kind of turn 2. But again, I mean, you're barely on the brakes there, so that's going to be an even stronger.
You don't brake for left-hander. You just lift. To Lime Rock Park, I do have some. That's where I got my pro license in real life, so like that, I do have some confidence there. But in this field, I'm worried about the turn 1 and chicane incidents because guys here are driving like NASCAR drivers at Indianapolis. It's just I know I shouldn't be throwing shade. Come on.
No. Well, hopefully it improves as the season goes on. I hope we stay near the top of the championship. Austin, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody at Lead Paul Racing, my team. Everyone there is doing good. We've been in works putting in our own. We've been designing our own track actually, and we're putting that into Assetto Corsa mod and a few other driving simulators. And I've been in simulator already, doing all the test driving for it and giving feedback. So a lot of thanks to everyone there. They're fantastic. Artesian Builds, just sponsored greatest computers ever. Use code PRAVDA210 at checkout for up to $100 off. Custom PCs, custom graphics on your PCs. If you want a PC with puppies all over it, you can absolutely have that at artesianbuilds.com. And I want to thank y'all here at Apex Racing TV. Andrew, Dave, Samuli. Yeah, y'all are fantastic. Hashtag blame Sam.
Dear me. Okay. We'll see you back next week. Oh, well, Austin's already gone. But there you go. Maybe he knew that I was getting angry and was.
He made a quick exit, mate.
Yeah, gonna shout at him or something. Andy, who do you want to have a chat with?
Got to be Thomas Sorensen, hasn't it? So let's get Thomas in. Hi Thomas, welcome to the commentary booth. So, first round in the championship and an outstanding round for yourself.
Yeah, it was actually way better than I expected. So, yeah, I'm quite happy.
So it seems obviously, you got two podium finishes in the 3 races. It seemed like you were very much not giving any respect to the pros and pushing them all away. Certainly in that 3rd race, all over the back of Adrianson with an unfortunate incident into the hairpin. But you certainly showed your speed on this track. Is this one of your favourite tracks in iRacing?
Yeah, it got a bit too close in the last race. Not on purpose at all. But I think that's just a racing incident. But yeah, it is one of my favorite tracks, so that is probably also why I was that quick.
Have you had much experience in these cars?
I've only been driving this car for about 2 weeks, but I've been driving a lot of Dallara P217. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly see you've got the speed on track, and obviously giving a bit of competition now to Push to Prava, who was sort of running away with the AMs, but you've certainly outscored him in this round. So next round, we've currently got Lime Rock Park. Have you managed to get the car out on track on Lime Rock?
I haven't driven this car on Lime Rock, but I have driven a lot of other cars, so I know the track, but well, yeah, I think it's going to be a bit more of a challenge to be quick there.
Yeah, because obviously you weren't in rounds 2 and 3, which are the more of a tighter circuit. This was probably the first one that was quite open, expansive, and gave good opportunities to pass in. So, Lime Rock has some real tight corners, and we've seen some incidences in the previous 2 rounds on tight first corners, and obviously Lime Rock being no exception with turn 1 with the hairpin that goes in up round to the right. Have you got any sort of tactics that you're looking at for that corner to try and keep yourself safe?
Yeah, it's quite narrow, so I think I'm just going to take it easy on the first couple of corners, and then we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. So an outstanding debut for you today in Hockenheim. So hopefully you'll be back to give Pushta a bit of a run for the money. Luckily, you've got a drop round, so you're only 1 round behind him, but certainly all to play for the season. So it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the season goes. Before we let you go, mate, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, thank you very much, first of all. Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my team, CTS Racing. They're doing a great job, and yeah, and I think I'm gonna give a shout out to my girlfriend as well for letting me set up this rig in our living room. So that's it.
Oh, well, thanks for joining us, and thanks for joining the series. And we look forward to seeing you at Lime Rock next week.
Thank you. You too.
Brilliant. So there was Thomas Sorensen, obviously his first round in the Formula V, getting 2 podium finishes as an AM. So really good start to his series. Obviously a late entry into the series. And obviously if you do feel that you would like to join the series, then please head over to Apex Racing TV and come and join us. There's still places available, and you could be on this grid next week in Lime Rock. So Sam, there we have. We've got a few more that we could talk to. Is anyone else you'd like to pull in?
Yes, and by the way, I would just say on ApexRacingLeague.com there are 6 other series that you can enter as well, so do check that out. I will have a chat with Jakob Behrens because Jakob had I think quite a frustrating day. Maybe race 1 the most frustrating of all of them, Jakob, because you were so close to the race win, but you just lost out on that run to the line.
Yeah, well, I mean, you give and you take. Wasn't where I had to half an hour before the race started. I had to unscrew my pedals and do a lot of work on them just to get them working again. So I was not really going into the race expecting a podium, and I had a pretty bad qualifying as well. But ended up getting some nice points for the team, at least in race 1. So that was pretty good. Happy with it, but of course, having the number 1 is a bit better.
Yes, absolutely. And then race 2, forgive me, I don't actually recall what happened to you in race 2 because there was so much going on. But yeah, what was your issue in that one?
Well, the main incident was with another driver who a racing incident at best into the second to last turn. Just he turned in on me, and then my left front wheel decided to pop off, which was that was a problem. Had done some alright progress until then, but yeah, that happens sadly.
And then race 3, we're currently watching a replay of kind of lap 4 or so when you were battling very hard with Aaron Smith. In the end, that one ended in spoils. What was your perspective of the incident?
I've looked at it myself too, and in the moment I expected him to go wider, to maintain, to not scrub the tires and just to keep the speed better. So I expect him to do that, and then he's straight now, and by the time I realized, oh wait, he's straight. I didn't get to yank the wheel, and I hit this rear left, I think? Rear right, sorry. And then, yeah, just went as badly as I could. Yeah, it's a shame, really.
Absolutely, but yeah, it's still plenty more rounds to go for the rest of the season. Next up, we've got Lime Rock. That's going to be one of the highest speed circuits that we visit all season. You looking forward to that one?
I'm not too big of a fan of Lime Rock. I think it's a bit too technical in some sections for my driving style, but I've maximized it and have some fun. But I think also we went 3 wide into the last, into the like left-right SGK after the Porsche hairpin, and if that happens at Lime Rock, then that's not going to end well.
No. Hopefully, yeah, drives are a bit more well-managed for the next round. Before we let you go, Jakob, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout-out to?
Well, of course, my team and my teammate, lovely people, and Aaron Smith for the nice words he said in voice chat.
Awesome. Thanks for having a chat with us, Jakob, and yeah, see you back next time.
See you.
So that was Jakob Burns. I'm not quite sure if he was being serious about Aaron Smith there, because we're currently watching the replay on screen. That was a collision, which in real life would have made Jakob Burns a bald man for the rest of eternity, because it was scraped off the scalp of his head. But fortunately, we're in the sim, so he shouldn't have suffered from anything like that. Andrew, we might just have one more very quick interview if we're quick.
Yeah, okay, let's get Alexander in. Hi Alexander, welcome to the commentary box. How did that round go for yourself?
The first 2 was okay, but the last one was just that was on me. But yeah, I crashed out in all 3 races, so not the best day today, but
I think that's how it goes in this series, though, isn't it? You seem to have good rounds, and we know you've definitely got pace because we can see you up at the front runners, and then there's just slight incidences throughout the grid, and you can easily go from the top of the grid and just plummet down the order in these races. You know, are you finding that on track?
It's I feel like I get good starts, and I usually get through lap 1, and then I get taken out all the time, so but I saved a lot of points today, so I crashed out in the first lap on the race 1, but I still got a 6th or 7th, I think.
Yeah.
And on the race 2 I was fighting for P1, but we ended in the gravel on the last lap there.
Yeah, you managed to save it to go back, so at least I suppose in lap 2 you didn't have to go back to the pitch. You managed to get it over the line, and
yeah, I got a P5.
Yeah, a P5 in there, so
yeah,
it could have been worse, and it could have been better certainly for that. But you seem to be one of the fast drivers, and it's always entertaining to see you on the stream and the your speed you're going. So we've got Lime Rock up next. What are you feeling about that track?
It's a track I've never driven almost. I started there when I first started iRacing on the MX-5, but I haven't touched it since, so it could be. But it's a short track, so it's should be fast to learn.
Yeah, it's back to sort of the same tracks as we had in round 1 and round 2, so the tight, twisty sort of corners, and we've seen sort of the lap 1 carnage that we've had in some of the other rounds. How are you going to play trying to avoid the carnages in the first lap?
The qualifying is really important, and because starting in the back, that's a risk. But just I usually aim for losing 2-3 places on the first 2-3 corners just to keep it safe. So, but it's so easy to lose this car on the first lap, because if someone spins and you turn quick, then it goes around. So
yeah, definitely we sort of see that after each round, certainly with more with the AM drivers than the pro drivers, obviously sometimes overdriving it on that first lap, but you know, what is good is you obviously take your hits and then you fight back really well. So you certainly have got the pace on track. So yeah, it's always good and entertaining to watch you around these tracks. So yeah, thanks for joining the series.
Yeah, hope to get a win someday. I lost the last race on the Summit Point with 300s or something. So
yeah, it was extremely close. And you know, I wouldn't put it past you, because I think every single round we've had 3 different winners on the 3 races that we've had. I don't think we've had one person win 2 rounds on one meeting. So you never know. Lime Rock may be your track.
yeah, maybe. But I usually like longer tracks, so Yukiyama maybe.
Yeah, well, we'll see you next week. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out before we let you go there, Alexander?
No, a shout out to my teammate, so he's keeping me motivated. It's always good to be more than one. So
yeah, definitely. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week in Lime Rock Park, Alexander, and hopefully you'll get a win.
Yeah, hope so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
There you go, Sam. So a mixed bag. I don't think the drivers are looking forward to Lime Rock Park by the sounds of it.
I was a little bit surprised. I'm surprised they were quite so negative about this Hockenheim circuit as well, because I thought it was a very good circuit for these cars. But yeah, we'll see if how Lime Rock is. Wow, that could be amazing. Certainly going to be some race finishes there. I'll put money on that. But yeah, and some very narrow corners as well. Chicane could be awkward. So yeah, really looking forward to that one. Of course, that will be on next week on Apex Racing TV, same time as it was this week, 1900 GMT will be going live on the stream. That's when qualifying starts, and of course, once again, 3 15-minute races for that. And of course, in order to watch that race, make sure to like this video. Then you're more likely to get recommended our videos in the future. Of course, subscribe to Apex Racing TV, and also click the notification button so that you know whenever we are going live with any one of our 20-odd streams we have each week. Over the next few days, we've got tomorrow, we've got the first round of the Apex Racing League GT3 Trophy Pro Series, which will be a fantastic quality of field. 30 GT3 cars racing around Daytona for round 1 of the championship. We've also got a Radical Series starting very soon. We've got Radical Official Series on Friday. We've got F3s, I think, later on in the week. So lots of racing coming up on Apex Racing TV in the next 7 days. Once again, a huge thanks to Virtual Racing School, to Apex Racing Academy, and to SDK Gaming for sponsoring the series. And yeah, that pretty much wraps us up for tonight. So for myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Andy Thompson, from David Whitehouse, and from Sam Kumo, we are going to say goodbye, and we will see you next time out for round 4 of the championship at Lime Rock Park. See you then.